Mysterious and omniscient power, forever indebted to your grace, restoring our divine essence with every breath we take. We give our love to you now, for you've given us another day. Standing in your glory, feel the darkness fade away.
Hey everyone, it's Breaux again, and
Kegan Myers.
we got the Seekers Sanctuary.
Yeah, I had started a Facebook account to go along with this podcast. I temporarily closed it for personal reasons for the time being, but I'm thinking I might go reopen it. If I don't reopen that one, I'll probably make another one. But I just want to announce that for anyone who watches this.
Alright, and today's topic is going to be free will. And we're going to discuss whether we have free will or not. So, for those of you who may not be familiar, there's basically two schools of thought. There's free will and there's predestination. Predestination means that everything has been laid out before us, and we're basically just, part of a machine that of this world that just keeps going on. We're created for a specific purpose, and once that purpose has been fulfilled, someone else comes in. So every decision we make is already guided by a higher power. On the flip side, free will means that we're given ultimate free will to do however we please, right? It is basically the divine has given us the ability to be who we are and do whatever we want, any decisions we make, and we get to decide whether we're good or bad. So, today we're going to discuss whether we actually have free will, or if we live in some kind of predestined, or is it true that we're actually in a mix of either, if that's possible. So, what do you think?
Wait, which one of those do I think it is?
Yeah.
I think it's probably a mix.
So why so?
Well, if you, I think reality is formed by what you believe, so if you believe it's real, then it probably will appear real at least.
Okay. But sometimes so you're coming up with a perspective that reality is just a projection from ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a very self-centered view, isn't it?
Yeah, there's only the self.
That means it's only you, and everyone else is just kind of a figment of your imagination.
Well, if you consider multiple realities, it doesn't necessarily mean they're in my imagination, but I'm spinning off into my own creations, and then so is everyone else. So, we aren't in the same realities ever. We might be at right now, but in the next second, I'm with another version of you. That's how I feel anyway.
I see. Okay, so my point of view, and I'm going to lean more toward a mix as well, but I also believe that our paths, unfortunately, are very much predetermined. And the reason I'm going to say that, and even though I do believe that we have a limited amount of free will, is because everyone's born with predispositions. And what I mean by predispositions is some people are born, for example, physically or mentally unable to do certain things that other people who are capable of doing, right? Just like some people are also born with a high intelligence or great physical attributes that allow them to outperform others in sports, for example. I think there's different types of intelligences that also include physicals, but at the same time, none of us are equal. None of us are given the exact same chance genetically, and I think that's genetically determined, right? Like, and that comes from our family lineages, but also just random chance. That sperm got with that egg, and that's what we got, right? And so those are determined because of that, right? So let's say someone who's autistic, who can't communicate in the world, maybe can't become, a newscaster because they literally don't have that ability. So their path, they can't be whoever they want to be. They can't do whatever they want to do. I think of myself. For those who don't know me, I'm a very picky eater. And it's not because I'm picky because I don't want to try things. I literally cannot. Like, there's certain foods and textures and smells that if I see or even comes close to feeling, I'll vomit. Like, I literally cannot eat it. Like, I just, if there's an apocalypse, I'm gonna die first. Like, I just can't. I can't overcome it. Same way people have social anxieties. Can't go into a crowd. Maybe they could force themselves, and really, really, like, they'll put themselves on edge, but that's all different predispositions, What do you think of that?
Well, if you ask me what I think, it's going to get to my personal opinion.
Well, that's what this is about, huh? It's your personal opinion.
Well, I think that's just layover karma from a past life.
Ah, okay, I got you. So explain more with that.
I think it can be corrected.
Okay.
And I know me personally, I have corrected most. And I don't want to sound like I got everything figured out, but I've corrected a lot of my karma. Most.
But, I mean, not everything can be corrected. Like, you can't make a quadriplegic run a race.
No, but you can correct the karma and come back in the next life.
I see. That's a very Buddhist, Hindu point of view there, I think, huh?
Well, right. I studied pretty much the entire Hindu religion.
So, you're basically saying that if, let's say you have this predisposition, you think that if you do good deeds, focus on yourself, rebuild yourself, when you come back in the next reincarnation, you'll become back better.
Well, might spin off in another topic if you say do good deeds, because karma's not about what's good or bad.
What do you mean?
People will confuse karma like with good actions or bad actions. It's not necessarily that. You will get karma from trauma too, and that doesn't mean that you did bad, but you still picked up you still picked it up whether you wanted to or not.
Oh, I got attached to you basically.
Yeah, so
I see you got a good point there.
You may begin to do those same patterns whether you wanted to or not. So.
Okay, I see your point there. That'd be another kind of a predisposition in that case, right? That's kind of like you grow up in a traumatic household. Even if you didn't have the predispositions to do certain things, such as drug addictions or something like that, you may now, doing that as a way to seek a way out, right? Or a way to feel better.
Yeah, well, this train of thought is leading to the idea that maybe karma is what we consider what controls free will.
I guess you would have a point there, wouldn't you? Because if karma controlled free will, then, as you say, it would determine how we come back and our predispositions to the next thing. And it would give us, as we move up on the karma scale, we'd have more and more free will.
More free will, yeah.
I see.
So basically, at the lower range, you have what is an illusion of free will.
What's kind of ironic about that is, among Hindus and even Buddhists, they believe that the priest or the monks have the highest form of the highest karma, right? Because ultimately they're going to reincarnate. They're not going to reincarnate. They're going to hit enlightenment. But they place the most restrictions on them, so they have the least amount of free will when they're living it. Isn't that kind of ironic? The people who can have to restrict themselves the most. Or maybe that's the point. Because if they went unrestricted, they would rule the world.
It might look that way to those participating in the karmic realm.
That's true too.
Or maybe the idea of sin, if you're not saying you are specifically.
No, I know what you mean.
If people are participating in the world of sin, then karma, that's what appears normal.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps the one who's more free is the one who's not participating in that.
Or, like the Buddha said, the one who's more free when they're free from all attachments.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being concerned about the latest fashion or the way your hair is and things like that, those are trivial. Shave your head, wear some robes, and be done with it. Mm-hmm. And that makes you more free, because then you don't have to make the decision. That's not something that weighs you down. Mm. So, freedom is almost individual. It's an individualized opinion. Basically, what is free to you is different from what's free to me.
Yeah. What's free to someone else might be a prison to other people.
That is true. That is very true. In fact, and then the opposite may be true. What may be a prison to some may be their ultimate freedom. Mm-hmm. I think of a cousin of mine who at like 21 got sentenced to jail sentence, spent a decade there, came out and went right back. Literally cannot live in normal society. Came out again in his late 50s and did something to go back because he could not live in a free world. It just too many choices, too many decisions to make. He couldn't handle it, so he did something to go back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. There's some level of freedom to not having to work and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's less worry. I mean, mm-hmm. You get 3 hot meals and a warm bed every night.
And I guess it's when we're younger, we're in high school, and we have this sense of community.
Mm-hmm.
They might have that in jail, for all we know.
That is true. I mean, Some people compare schools to prisons in that sense, right? You have that community. You're told what to do, when to eat, when to go to the bathroom.
I mean, it toughens people up. They might thrive in it. Some people.
I mean, wouldn't that be
kind of like the military?
Well, it would be like a domesticated animal too, when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
A domesticated animal thrives in the home, but it can't exist in the wild, or it has a shorter lifespan.
But going back to free will, it's interesting that on the surface it appears they don't have any free will.
At least from your point of view.
But maybe their prison was the structure that they have to follow.
Mm-hmm.
So
we all have different. So basically, different things become our own prison,
mm-hmm.
and then also different things become our own freedoms,
mm-hmm.
and it's individualized. So it's our own personal truths.
And whether something's good or bad is assigned by us. It's not the circumstances isn't necessarily good or bad, and so.
Well, yeah, and then as a society, we kind of come up with things that we generally think are good or bad, but to the individual, they may be different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what's and I mean that's why we have to have judges and too, because society we make rules, but that doesn't for every situation. Like murder's bad. We all hear that murder's bad, except in certain cases, right? If someone's trying to kill you, then you can kill them. Many people champion the murder of a child molester, for example. If someone was molesting you and you come back and years later and off them, then they see that as okay, I mean, many people are championing this one lady right now, and I can't think of her name, that was apparently medically abused by her mother, where she was told she had all these different ailments when she didn't, because her mother wanted to get sympathy for having a sick daughter. And eventually the daughter convinced another guy to help her murder her mother and to gain freedom, basically. And she spent a few years in jail, but not many, and now she's out and free. And now people are like, yeah, she earned her freedom. She should have never went to jail in the first place. So there are circumstances where we see our society judges murder as, it's okay, it's fine. But then there's other cases, oh God, no. Even in cases where, they say murder is something that may not be, but that's getting too much political, perhaps.
But it's all of these things, all of these adaptations to our environment that we make as humans, it might not be okay to kill people in the name of justice. But right now, we think it is because that's where we are. That might not be the proper way. It might make you feel, it might be a way to heal your wounds. But is that the proper way to heal your wounds?
I agree.
So going back to that, are these choices that we consciously made out of free will? Or is that just an adaptation that we had to make?
That is true too. Or is it just something that we do because society tells us so?
Yeah, but
because
why?
Different societies, they've had different morals as time has gone on. Just 50 years ago, a 26-year-old man marrying a 13-year-old girl, completely normal. Right? It was very common. Today, he would be molested for child molestation. And I'm not saying which is good or bad here. I'm just making the statement that as times have changed, what we consider morally acceptable and who is competent and who is not has changed. Same way the drinking age has moved to 21. The smoking age has moved to 21. The driving age increased from 15 to 16. Things have changed.
Well, talking about that, it seems like if there was free will, we would have freedom of choice. And there wouldn't just be things that happened that was out of our hands. So that seems like destiny. So it seems like if we had free will, we would have the freedom to choose a reality that suited our needs or whatever.
And a lot of people aren't given choices. Think of someone who grows up poor, may get caught up in their environment or something like that, have limited opportunities. Will they ever leave their community? A few will. There are examples of people who do, but the majority don't. The majority of the people in the world don't move beyond 10 miles of where they were born. And that's because of limited means. We are mostly limited people. So I don't have the freedom personally, financially. I personally don't have the freedom to move on somewhere else. I have family obligations. I have, even though I guess I could make a choice if I want to, but I can't. Morally, I can't.
Well, now that makes it to where we have to ask, what even is free will? What would that even be? What do you think free will would be?
Well, when I think free will, I ultimately think that we have the freedom to make whatever decision we want to make. But I don't think we can. I think that every decision has luggage with it, right? Like it's there's so many things you have to weigh. You can't just do what you want to do.
And what would you say that those things are that cause those roadblocks to free will and to have exactly what we want?
Well, like I said, first and foremost was genetic predisposition, right? Obstacles that hold us back, maybe finances, family obligations, society's disapproval of certain things, right?
None of which we've chosen ourselves. So.
No, you're right. Everything has been constructed for us. Society is here before we are.
So is there
laws are here before we exist.
So is there somehow some link between destiny and survival? Is our destiny controlled by our means and our need to survive?
I think that's a very valid point. I think it is. Our
Because
destiny is
we
controlled.
can't go, buy something that's like $1 million right now.
Yeah.
We can't control our destiny in that way. So our destiny is limited by these roadblocks and these. So
we have lots of physical barriers, right? that are constraints that prevent us from doing anything. There's so many obstacles in the way. Is it impossible? Absolutely not. It's not 100% impossible. There are people who have gotten around these roadblocks by chance, by miracle, right? And when I use the word miracle, I'm, unexplained chance, right?
That might be our next topic. What is a miracle?
Yeah, that's a good idea to talk about. What is a miracle? Because, is it just improved chance?
Or is it somehow
something that cannot happen?
Or is it manifested in a way?
I agree. Something that cannot happen by chance. Something that cannot happen at all. Very good. That's a good idea. I think that would be a great next topic. Yeah, and so I think that was a good discussion
I think
on.
we pretty much covered the meat and bones of it.
Yeah. So kind of to reiterate, I think we kind of agree on this that I very much like your point of view, and it's kind of within my construct, the karmatic thing, right? That, as we get reincarnated and go about the cycles, eventually we get more and more freer to the point that we are completely free.
That we do have our free will, at some point maybe.
Mm-hmm. But, and two...
Because think about all the things that hold us back. It's usually just these thoughts, and taking our free will. And we even feel like, I'm so angry because this is stopping me from having control.
Mm-hmm. So. Well, I think the free will definitely goes, the hindrance of free will definitely goes beyond just the inner thoughts. Mm-hmm. For a lot of people, that is true. No, but I think there's so many people out there that have physical barriers that prevent them from moving on that it's almost innumerable. You can't even count them. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't even imagine, that plus the mental, what we cannot see, right? That would hinder them. So, but was that predestined? Was that by design? You're saying it's karma, or maybe our individual karma. Well, who decides karma? Is that the universe balancing itself out?
Yeah,
is that some divine entity?
And maybe there's some things within science and spirituality that, sometimes people protect themselves because their feelings might get hurt. But maybe sometimes the truth lies beyond that. So, now, whether controversial or not, this is a warning because it might be. But maybe perhaps someone who does come into the life with some sort of hindrance, physically or mentally, this might just be their karma, and it, unfortunately, whether how bad it is, they may or may not be their destiny.
Maybe so.
So, who's to assign a good or a bad on that either?
Maybe so. Well, that was a great discussion today. I hope you all liked it. Keep watching.
Mysterious and omniscient power, forever indebted to your grace, restoring our divine essence with every breath we